Thank you very much. Okay, now we move on to updates from Councilmember Peralez and opening up that to Q&A. We'll wind that up about 7:55 for announcements, and then we will adjourn, and the council member and probably staff will stay again to the 8:30 hour, half hour.
Yes, thank you. And first off, I wanted to say thank you to everybody for the participation that we've had since the beginning of the year. These meetings continued on as they have been over the years without a hiccup, and they've actually, as you have seen, we've had really, really good participation. So thank you for that, being engaged here with our community. It certainly makes our district that much more better because of the participation that we have here. And I think we'll be able to set an even more important example as we move forward with this participatory budgeting over the course of the year for the rest of really the city. Not every district has a sort of a roundtable group like this, but several of them do. And I know that they are now curious because they're starting to hear about this participatory budgeting that we have, and they're wondering, how it's going to work and if they'll be able to participate themselves next year. So I'm excited about that. I am going to switch gears a little bit. I don't know how much I can get into detail about, but I can say that if you saw the news, I think it came out yesterday potentially, from Ramona that reported here at City Hall in regards to the contract negotiations that we've been in with the POA. And then today was really a deadline for the POA. They saw it as a deadline because of the ability to really re-engage in the next step in litigation. And we have stayed all the litigation talks as we've been negotiating. But with really the department to continue to deteriorate as it has, the POA has put the pressure on saying, we want this to either be resolved by today or we will move forward in the next steps in litigation. We have come to a tentative agreement. There is no public notification of it yet, and we don't have an understanding on their end if there's anything ratified on the tentative agreement. In fact, I don't even know if the timing, it was sort of just odd how it worked out. The POA was supposed to meet with their board this morning, and we had a closed session scheduled at 3:30. And as it happened, the POA negotiators and our city negotiators were here at City Hall all day yesterday until 2:30 in the morning this morning. And they called it and said, let's come back in the morning, 9 a.m. And so the POA put off their board meeting and continued negotiations up until 3 p.m. Where we went into closed session, and our negotiators presented to us what they had talked about, where there was an agreement on both sides. We ultimately ratified that unanimously. Now we're sort of waiting to hear back from what the POA board and what their negotiators were able to talk to their board about. We're pretty optimistic in this regard because this negotiation has been going on for quite some time. And so we're optimistic that the POA board will hopefully have ratified the TA, the tentative agreement, as well. The conversation is still not over, but this is a really huge step because what this was about was the Measure B pension litigation. And so this was the negotiations talking about how do we come to terms in regards to savings that we know we need in pensions, but not going too far to where we are now, where we can't even retain current or new officers. So I voted for it as well because I felt that this was a negotiation and that not only was important, but I also felt that what we negotiated upon and what we ended up with was very fair. And having myself been a former officer, I know what that would look like on that end in regards to, is that something that I would have felt satisfied with as an officer. So I'm optimistic. I'm hoping that any time here I'm going to get news from somebody that we've heard back from them. If it was the case that their board meeting ended before news made it to them, they may have to call another board meeting. But I did hear from the Mercury News reporter that she heard the good news. So clearly some word is out. And so I'll have to wait with everybody else. But what was written in the newspaper yesterday is not going to happen, and that's what the POA was saying, is that if we didn't come to some sort of terms today, we're going to end all conversation, we're going to go back to litigation, we're going to stage a rally, so that should have now been now stalled. And we will have to go, we're actually going to continue negotiations in regard to their contract now. For those that aren't aware, we have 11 bargaining units representing all the city employees here, and 10 of those bargaining units we've come to contract with for either 2 to 3 years. So it's amazing news for really where we've been over the last few years. The last one is POA. So we still have to hash that out now. So it's not over yet. We're still going to be doing that. And for those that weren't aware either, and I think this made a little bit of news, July is known as the recess month for council. It's really just means that we don't have council session and we don't have our council committee meetings. Other than that, like myself, I'm on 15 different committees, and so there's only 3 that relate to the city council. The rest are throughout, one's in Oakland, ABAG, Association of Area Governments, a bunch of different ones. Those actually all still meet. I'm on the PAL board as a seat through the city. I met with them today at lunch. So we still have meetings, and we don't necessarily leave. Some members do. They plan their vacations from the year to do it in July when we don't have council meetings. So we have had these closed sessions with some phone calling in with council members sort of stalling their vacation and getting to an area that they have to publicly notice. It has to be accessible to the public. In case anybody that's on vacation from San Jose happens to be in, wherever the council member is, and wants to attend the meeting. So it's difficult to manage, but we've done it with almost 100% attendance. And this is with having council members in other countries as well. Wow. So we've had, today I had Chappie Jones on FaceTime in the council meeting. And so we've managed to do that. Margie Matthews actually took a break in the middle of her family vacation. And for those that don't know, Margie Matthews was the temporary D4 representative, not paid all year, volunteering her time. She's essentially, they're in a limbo stage right now, where Man Win, who won the election, isn't sworn in yet. So it's still Margie. So Margie was in Tahoe as of last week, and there with her family. She took a drive into Sacramento and a train into San Jose today. And then after the closed session, she's taking the train back to Sacramento and driving back to Tahoe to be with her family. So she actually came in to physically be here for that, because we needed 6 physical bodies in San Jose. And so that's why she couldn't phone. Well, we needed 6 physical bodies. So it was easier to get Margie here from Lake Tahoe than it was to fly somebody in from Mexico. So, but nonetheless, we knew that commitment sort of entering July, entering this recess. The mayor has been here nearly every day. I know he left for the 4th of July just over the weekend, as I did. And other than that, he's been here as well. The negotiations have been ongoing. So your council is working hard to try to get this done, even in the month that is known as our recess. I don't feel like it's much of a recess, but I'm very, very pleased that this is some really positive news, and hopefully the start of what I think has already been a new direction for our city. So I don't know, and like I said, I can't really get too much more into that, so I probably couldn't take any questions in that regard. So it's sort of a wait and see at this point.
Well, that's more than fair.
Yeah. Yeah. Other than that, I did want to add, I did have a really good meeting with the homeless task force, and I think we had some good conversation on that. So I look forward to Kathy's presentation next month. There will be support that I'm going to be looking for out of this group to find some solutions, really for housing people, because we know that's really the solution. Nothing's going to get anybody out of the creek, right? Like a house. So there are some solutions that come up, and you might have already seen them. Some stuff hit the news with like the Plaza Hotel conversion there, Plaza Hotel over by Greyhound site, and we're also looking for a location. We're still actively looking for a location for a 100% fully supportive housing complex, housing anywhere from probably 80 to 100, and that's going to be in our district. And so there's going to be definitely some support needed in that regard on both of those and any other advocacy that we're looking for to address this issue that we know of housing and homelessness. So that's it.
Yeah, the county's doing quite a bit.
Maybe we can do it again.
We're gonna open it up to questions. Okay, so
Defer to
Richard
Joan.
started it, I saw Tina, but don't overwhelm me, I think I can remember 3 things in a row, but let's go 2, even better. So we have Richard and then we have Tina.
The county's doing quite a bit with this. I understand they have a commission. Are you in contact with them or?
Yeah.
For the city or what's going on?
Yeah, so the county put together like a housing task force as well. I think they're actually gonna finish up pretty soon. I think they're finishing up in a month or so, where they're supposed to have collaborated on an idea or ideas that they might wanna move forward with. I'm in contact with some of the people that are on there, but there's nothing, right now that they've come to terms with. So they're still hashing it out on there in regards to what they wanna do. So I'm not waiting for that task force. The county certainly has funding and a lot that they can do, but so do we. So there's things that I can do is what I'm working on right now.
Perfect. Tina?
So, is there an update to the hotel? Because the only thing I saw was, it was kind of controversial, there was some concerns, like people saying, oh, we don't want our downtown to be, so is there an update to what happened?
It's still in the process. So where that's at, the Plaza Hotel is a site owned by Sarah, the successor agency to redevelopment. And so any and all sites owned by Sarah, and I keep thinking it was a person, because we say Sarah, and so it's not a person, right? The successor agency. Any of those sites that we end up not utilizing or not wanting to utilize as a city, they have to get sold. So they have to get initially appraised and then put out on the market. But the city does get the opportunity, or any public agency gets the opportunity to deem, well, do I want use of it first? So before it goes out to a public bid, the city can pay what the appraisal is. It does have to get approved by the successor agency board, but then it doesn't go out to bid. And so that's the process that we're in right now. Initially, we were eyeing, do we want to do that, or do we just want to have it go out to bid? We decided, no, we want this. This is some low-hanging fruit. Let's get it appraised and let's find out what it would cost. The appraisal has been done. If Jean was here, I'd ask her. She knows the appraisal price that it came back as. But it came back at a number that we could afford and a number that makes sense to be able, what we know it's going to cost us to rehab it, and then being able to purchase it. And so it's still something that we're looking at here as a city in our housing department in regards to purchasing that, rehabbing it, and have it be ready by next summer. Really be the first new beds to the city in a long time. And so that's the hope. The hope is also that it's a tentative site, that this is something we don't see as a long-term solution. We see this as more of an emergency shelter. We're looking at the fully supportive complex that we want to build. That we're looking at as a permanent solution. So this is hopefully building a bridge. That's going to take 3 to 5 years to build the other. It's going to identify it and go through the purchasing of the land or whatever it might be. That's going to be a longer process. So this is some low-hanging fruit, but certainly there's controversy. It's nobody's, quite frankly, nobody is just going to be 100% behind having formerly homeless live in their neighborhood or business community, whatever it might be, for the stigmas that follow that. But I am 100% supportive of this site for a number of reasons, and I think it's 10 times better to have somebody in a bed rather than on the street next to you. So that's this could be a battle. This could be one of the battles that our housing task force here and the D3 CLC gets behind. So, but there's more to come on that too. So.
Okay. So we have John and then Lovey.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of out of the box really, but is there ever been any discussion about using, on a very temporary basis, the multitude of empty dorm rooms in San Jose State?
No, that hasn't been a discussion. And that wouldn't be obviously at my discretion. That would be at President Mose, who's now outgoing, and President whoever who's incoming.
Yeah.
And so no, and I imagine we could broach that subject, but I don't think they're interested. So yeah.
Aren't they building new?
They are building new, yeah, and they're supposed to be tearing down the red brick as well, and so. But yeah, I'm gonna say for a number of reasons, similar to why anywhere that I suggest, somebody would probably say, no, not here. it would be the same reason why San Jose State would say, no, it's not here. So, and it's not ours to control, so I just, it's a tree that I'm not, I wouldn't want to waste my time to go.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have Lovey's and Antonina.
Fairgrounds still on the table or off the table?
Fairgrounds is still on the table, it's not, and that's just also, now that's at the county's purview, right, so that's also not ours. But the county is still looking at that as a potential site, they're actually looking at a number of things to do there, and they haven't, there's no decision being made there. That, I'm thinking, is going to come, one of the ideas for that might come out of this county task force that's been put together.
And long-term, probably.
Yeah, so-
For that. The reason that I like that, and that came up during the debates, is that being one-stop shopping and also be in control. I think that obviously with the jungle reoccurring and everything, we really have to have hands-on, and the city needs to be in control of what's going on there. And I think that's probably some of the horror that faces some of the neighborhoods, is say, not in my backyard, and I can understand that too.
Right, but as Raul was saying, the county is under the management of the county, so we have to wait and see what decisions they make about that land use.
Well,
So we have Antonina and then Kimberly.
Recently or last year, Sam floated that zoning change to allow hotels not much in use to be changed over and possibly used as temporary housing, converted, blah, blah, blah. Is anything happening with that?
That's exactly what the Plaza Motel, over by the Greyhound site, that's exactly what we're using to do that. So, yeah, that's, I
And
mean.
any other hotels, because we talked about the ones on First Street.
There have been no other hotels that we have looked at, our housing department, well, they've looked at, our housing department has looked at others. One of the biggest troubles, honestly, has been, is as soon as you sort of start looking at a site and people know that this is a site that's being looked at, there's a lot of backlash with the not in my backyard, right, not here. And that's just gonna come up anywhere. And there are still some sites, some along Monterey Road, that could be utilized. For us, this was, as I said, the lowest hanging fruit. So that is what we're looking at, where there will be other hotels obviously.
Okay, so we have Kimberly and then myself.
I just wanted to address the fairgrounds issue, because we met with City Showers the other day, and it doesn't sound like that's gonna be, evidently all of the polls that they've taken and the census that they've done countywide has, probably close to, 65 or 70% people wanna keep it for public use. So, I think that's part of the things they're grappling with right now. What do the people want versus what do we think is gonna be best for that? So, I wouldn't see that it would end up being used for housing at this point, since the perception seems to be that they want some kind of public use there. But again, if that's something that we wanna see, then we need to shout a little louder on the county level and let them know that still should be a viable option. Doesn't sound like it was at that point.
And then my question relates back to Antonina's. It reminded me at one point we had talked about hotel motel vouchers as a temporary basis for homeless people. Did that ever get pursued, or did that just kind of wither away?
No, and I don't know where that's at right now. So it's probably withered away before even I started, so. But that one has not been brought up at all since I've been in. So I don't know if that's something that we can also just, ask. I'll find out from our housing department, and
Okay.
maybe we can have a better answer for you next month.
Sounds great. Any other questions for the council member at this point?
What about some of the private encampments that are going on, like in people's backyards or on church property and businesses and so forth, and allowing that to happen? Is that legal or?
Can you clarify what you mean about private encampments on private property?
Yeah,
Like people camping in their
yeah, I
backyard?
mentioned
or-
like in their, I do see these things in our churchyards or even in businesses and so forth.
Yeah, those are.
And they're unsupervised.
Yeah, those are obviously a lot harder to regulate, just because sometimes they're
Is
out
that
of
illegal
view,
or
or.
what is that? Is it a private
Yes,
code?
it's not, say, it's not illegal to camp in your backyard. You have kids and they say, hey, I want to
Yeah.
camp in the backyard, right? So it's not just flat out illegal. What is to maybe be, well, certainly if you're leasing land or something like that, which I actually saw, there was like an Airbnb or something, somebody in the peninsula was leasing like a tent. Yeah, $900 they
Or at
rented.
least,
Yeah, because there are code restrictions, right? If you're renting a facility or you're renting space for somebody to stay, then code enforcement comes into play.
Yeah.
But you do borderline there on how much can you regulate somebody that's just allowing somebody to stay in a backyard or their private property, because it is their private property, and again, like you related to, when your kids maybe wanted to sleep in a tent. It's not illegal, and we don't want to make that illegal. But where does that gray line get drawn, where now you have, you know that there's somebody on private property that's allowing people to stay?
Yeah.
So it's not an area, quite honestly, that we're focused on. And the only
I just
reason.
want to know if it's legal or not,
Yeah.
Taking the general homeless population, putting them in their backyard and then charging them, or a business, I see it going on, or a churchyard or whatever.
Do report it if you see it going on.
No.
You can report it to our homeless, camping response team. The likelihood is that we're not going to get involved, right, because we're focused on what's out there in the public, what's happening there. So, but as long as because as we get aware and and if that becomes a bigger problem, I don't foresee it becoming a bigger problem, because that would take more private individuals allowing people to stay in their property. I don't see that becoming a bigger problem, but certainly we want to be on top of it. So definitely report.
I'm done.
Okay, last question for tonight is Tina.
Okay.
Michael.
So, getting off the subject of homeless and hotels. In the paper, I'm reading a lot about El Nino. The experts are thinking that this is going to be a super saturated winter. Is this at all on the council's radar, on the county's radar? I'm really, really concerned because of flooding. I know that there's, like the Guadalupe Creek has a 100-year fix, but they don't know when the 100-year mark starts and when the 100-year mark ends and the creek overflows. You know what I mean? So can you tell me if that's on anybody's radar?
Yeah, it's definitely, and a big reason as to why it's on my radar is because community has brought it forward, right? And there's been, I've had a number of presentations in regards to what's going on at the Coyote Creek, and the dam, and in regards to, right now, we actually keep, is it Lexington?
Yes.
Right, Lexington, we keep the water level low on purpose because we know that we're not prepared for a potential overflow on a big flood. And one of the arguments right now is we're sort of wasting potential water reservation space because we know that our preparation, our preparedness for flood is not up to par. But that's how we're resolving the issue right now. And that could be, in conversation with the water district, that could be how we resolve the problem ongoing, where we just never keep Lexington Reservoir at capacity. That might be the case. But there are a number of other, really fixes that could be put in place. It's not at our discretion. Again, that's not up to the water district that is responsible for that. But they are in constant contact with us about that. And certainly the conversations have stemmed around the drought, because that's where we're at. But I've had enough people say, hey, let's not forget that it takes one major storm to then overcome the drought and run into a flood. So.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, we're gonna move into the general announcement section. No, Tina was the last question. You'll be here at 8 if you wanted to bring something up. Seriously, that's why he stays, because
No, it was just an update on that we've been working on with David already. But I just wanted to just real quickly say, from the residents' perspective, what the city is doing, we want to make sure there was preparedness, like all the storm drains were cleaned and all of the stuff that's cleaned out of the water catch-alls and drains and all that, so that we can have that good flow. And then we want to later start doing some workshops where we bring people in to talk about how you can keep your gutters clean and all that. So stuff that we can prepare for so the water runoff flows smoothly rather than gets plugged up and causes more flooding. So there's things that we can do on our level as well. We're going to work to get some workshops going on that as a preparatory thing for residents to actually do on their own homes.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
And DOT cleans out all the drains, the storm drains in the city right before the rainy season, about 30,000 storm drains before the rainy season, and they check, and they work with QBIT to sweep the streets to make sure there's no excessive leaf fall. And then also, they check the storm pumps very regularly, and they're working with Public Works for emergency preparedness for storms and whatnot, so they're on top of it.
I saw some disagreement as to the report out of what David says is being done, but we can take that offline during the 8 o'clock hour.
That's
So
what DOT told David they should.
Thank you.
that could be very well,
It's just
okay.
rewarding what he was told. I did, just a snippet, speaking of emergency preparedness, I keep having these concerns of the next earthquake, and maybe it's
Oh my
every year,
God.
right, it keeps getting worse. And I am old enough to at least remember the '89, so I'm not that young. Well, we have had, we have had a number of communities show interest thus far in being more prepared, earthquake preparedness. So I don't know if anybody has any good context. Japantown has a gentleman that is a retired San Jose police officer. He's a reserve. Blanking on his name right now, but yes, Richard. Richard Saito. He does a training and has done one for Japantown. It's more kind of local. He's really only done it there. But I would love to hear if anybody has done that. Maybe we can bring this to the next meeting as well, put it on an agenda in the next couple of months. But I just want to get that in the back of your mind, and I'd like to have something that comes out of this group, the D3CLC, where we make sure all of our neighbors and all of our communities are prepared and sort of ready for when we know the inevitable is going to happen.